Alright, everybody, going for a walk today. Going down this path. I don't know if you can see where I'm walking at, but I'm kind of out a little ways, and it's a beautiful day out. It's early morning, and it's been so humid here. I don't know if where you've been at, it's been so humid, but it's been humid. Today's like the 27th or 28th of July today, 2025. And we've had some hot weather, rainy weather, just automatically rains just out of the blue, boom, you know. But this is a very beautiful park. It's different parks than what I'm normally in, and it's a beautiful park. And today's topic, keeping it real. There's some stuff in the water back there. I don't know what it is. I can hear it through the marsh. Anyways, so I want to keep it real today, and I want to say keeping it real. I mean, we are older. This is kind of like a video for older people. But what I want to talk about is when you're young, you try to fit in with everybody, whether at work or out of work or at clubs or wherever you go to, and whatever you do in life. You're trying to fit in with friends, even friends that you had when you were younger. I mean, you might be 20 years old. You might have hooked up with a person that you're a really good friend with since you've been 2 or 5 years old, you know. But as time goes on, you lose connection with people. And you lose connection with people because you get older. You don't have the same values they do. They might still be living in the past. And I'm going to show you this here. Let's see. I had something back in here. I don't know if it's a frog or something really loud. But anyways, you lose connection with these people. And you get a family. You start having kids. You get married. You have kids. You know, however it goes. And you lose connection with them because now you have a husband. This person might not have a husband. You might not have kids. You have a husband and kids. You're working, you're going through daily life, your kids are getting older, you're paying more attention to your kids, and you just lose connection with people. And the thing of it is the older you get, this happens more. Okay, so I'm 62, and a lot of the people that I hung out with when I was in high school and out of high school, even in my late 20s, you know, either these people have passed on, I mean dead, died, or they're still living in the past. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. Perfect example of that is I have two people that I really had to remove from my life because it was kind of bringing me down. I have this friend that I knew since I had been like 4 or 5 years old. I used to go to her mom's house, and my mom used to take me to her to babysit me. And I went to elementary school, which was a half a block down the street. And but I've known her since I was 4 or 5 years old. You know, she's older than me. I think she is in her 65 or 66 right now. I'm 62. And I've known her for all these years. And, you know, we somehow, I mean, we didn't talk for a while, you know, we talked occasionally. But, you know, and I assure my wife, you know, she was just a friend. You know, I've known her since, you know, I've been 4 years old. She understood. She wasn't jealous or anything, you know. But the thing of it is these people are still living in the past. They don't come out of the past. And it's hard to understand how they live in the past so much, you know. And I don't know. I really don't understand. You know, why they're still living like they're 15 or 16. They bring stuff up to you like, hey, remember when we did this, we did that, you know. And, and some of the things you don't want to remember. You just don't want to remember. And it's it's hard to, unless you're my age and you realize this, because when you get older, like I said, I'm 62, and when you get older, you just start realizing you don't want to live in the past anymore. You don't want these people that are reminding you of the past and bringing up stuff to where, yeah, I really don't want to hear about that anymore, So it was always, every time I seen her, or she would call me on the phone and say, hey, what's up? She's got this, she, like I said, she's like 66 years old. She's talking like she's 15 years old, It doesn't fit into my life. So what you got to do is you have to, if you don't want that, you can just cut off ties and say, hey, I don't want no more deal with that. I didn't want to be that rude, I didn't want to, I've known her for years, and I didn't really want to be that rude. So what I did was I slowly, pushed myself back and kind of made myself invisible to a certain extent, you could say. So the thing to do is, if you do run across this, you don't want to hurt the person's feelings and that, just kind of slowly, it might take you a month or two or longer, it might even take you 3 weeks, I don't know, but it took me a little while. She would call, I wouldn't answer, and I felt bad about that. But I can't stay in that situation. I can't stay in that mindset. It's a mindset. And it's a mindset for her because she doesn't even realize that she's living in the past. This is how she lives, and she did a lot of drugs, and that affected her, I think, mentally wise, to where she just doesn't think clearly, and she's constantly living in the past, and she's still on drugs, and I don't need that in my life, I don't want that in my life, and I'm not going to have that in my life. So I haven't talked to her now. This has been, this has went on. I haven't talked to her in I wouldn't say a couple years, maybe a year. Let's go for a year there. I haven't talked to her. And it was one relief out of me that, I'm sorry, from a distance, I still like her as a friend, but I can't be around her as a friend, if that makes sense. So, and there was another friend that I had to take out of my life. There's 2 of them. And sometimes you have to do this to grow. I'm not saying you have to do it just because, but you have to do it to grow. And to go down the road, like I'm going down this road here, I'm passing stuff. I'm passing by trees. I'm passing by things that are there, and they're there forever. Well, to a certain extent, they're there forever. They might outgrow themselves. They might get cut down, whatever. And that's what I have to do to move forward. I have to sometimes cut things out of my life, or cut things down, or let them be as they are, and me move away from them so I can be who I am. Yes, and the second person I went over, I met when we moved to a different town. When I was a kid, when I was 15, I had to go to a different high school, move to a different town 100 miles away from where I grew up at in a big city here in Michigan. And we moved away 100 miles, so I had to go to a whole different city. Didn't know anybody, small town, totally backwards from where I was at. Backwards as far as really backwards, okay? They were living like 20 years in the past, okay? From at least 10 years from where we were at. And so it was different for me. So one day I had to go to school. I met this guy, and not gonna say his name or anything, but we hung around together constantly. Wherever I was, he was. Wherever he was, I was, or whatever, vice versa. And we did a lot of things together. We went through a lot of experiences, a lot of chasing girls and all that kind of stuff, partying and going to the coolest party and whatnot, trying to hook up with some girls or whatnot, did some crazy stuff. And some crazy stuff that I don't want to remember. But the type of person he was, he always had to bring it up. It's like, dude, you know. My wife's sitting here. I don't think, you know, I haven't ever told her the story before. I don't really think she needs to hear this story. So, you know, can we move on? You know, let's get in the future. Let's get to where we are at now. To where we are now, the present. Not in the future. I mean, you can, the present moment that you're in is where you should be living. You can look to the future, but don't look back, because you look back, you'll realize all the mistakes that you've made. And everybody makes mistakes in the past. That's how you grow. So, I'm trying to grow. I don't want to live in the past. And it seems like that's where he wanted to live. So I had to do the same thing. I had to slowly, he would call, and I would not answer, you know, just because I figured eventually he'd quit calling. And it took about 10 times of him calling and me not answering before he just probably got the hint and said, you know, oh well, okay. And sad, because if these two people could have just looked to the future like I tried looking, and moved on, and not, because all they're doing is, when they're looking back, they're looking at all the mistakes that they've made in life. They might have been fun for them. They were fun for me at the time, but as I got older, they weren't fun no more. It's sad, because, you know, really, like I was saying earlier, when you move into that spiritual feeling for yourself, because that's what it is, it's a spiritual feeling for yourself, that you have to move on in life. You can't stay dormant at this position. You just can't do it. If you want to evolve in life, move forward, get a grip on reality. I mean, you don't really have to get even a grip on reality. You just got to move on. You can't live in the past. And I know I keep on saying this, I'm sorry, but it's just the way it is. And there's people in my life still to this day that I think, you know, all right, you know, as you get older, you know, you gotta pull yourself back from them. You gotta pull yourself back. Because not for yourself, for them. Maybe they'll realize someday that, hey, okay, I'm not moving forward. Why did he not want to answer my phone call? Why did he not want to do this? What's going on, you know? And it's all because hopefully they think that, well, maybe I need to move forward, you know? Maybe I need to find other friends, and that's what they need to do. They need to find new people and friends. I hope this video made sense to you guys today, because it's hard to go through, and you know you're going through it. You know you are. You know, everybody goes through this. Everybody's got to shed one or two friends from their life that just kind of drag them down. So you spiritually, mentally, physically, everything in you has to move forward. You cannot stay dormant. It's just not good for you. So I hope this message resonated with you today. That's just me thinking out loud. I wanted to share this. I thought today, you know, I do miss those people, but I can't call them. You know, I can't, you know, and because it just get me back to how far I've traveled already. I've traveled too far now to go back to that. So, all right, everybody, just remember, love all you guys. I want you to stay safe. I want you to say hi to the person next to you in line. Start a conversation with somebody you don't know. You never know what's going to happen. Hopefully good things happen, but you never know. You're just trying to be nice in the world and hang out with people and love everybody that you can. All right, everybody, I'm out of here today, and you guys take care. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and help this channel grow. All right, bye-bye.